Everyman Radio Podcast, bringing you the best alternative talk, music, comedy, and more.
Music your way.
I just wanna be your morning light, and the sun come up with you by my side. I just wanna be your morning light. Fire burns down and the embers slow, but I never get cold when it's you I hold. When the fire burns down and the embers slow, everything in my world is yours. 'Cause when I met you, I met a universe. I just wanna be your morning light, and the sun come up with you by my side. I just wanna be your morning light.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's episode. We really appreciate you joining us. This podcast really shows us how we can all learn, live, and thrive off of each other. By sharing our knowledge through our conversations, we will impart some knowledge whilst learning ourselves how to progress even further. Here is your host.
Perfect. Hello, Anam.
Hello.
Welcome to Everyman Radio.
My pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. That was lovely. And yeah, yeah, it's just fun. I'm digressing, of course, from what we want to talk about. Only that we've been experimenting. It's again with Zoom, and to all of these things take a little bit of time to get them quite right. And but yeah, so I think we're doing it. So it's
Yeah, we got there in the end.
yeah, it's great. Yeah, so Anam then. So please tell our listeners more about yourself. Is that a good place to start?
Um, yes and no. uh, in a sense, there's a lot to speak about.
Of course.
If someone says, tell me about yourself, there's, where do you start, right? And in another sense, there's not a lot to speak about myself because, I tend to define myself by my actions rather than a sense of inner identity, like my name is Anam, I am a male, I am this, I am that. So I tend to, in my inner perception of myself, I don't have any of that. What I do have is Anam as a living process in life, and has Anam cause to look back, look in the present, look into the future, and rejoice and feel fulfilled and feel like every moment is worth it. And if I can say yes to that, then Anam is happy. But who am I don't know. I have no idea.
No, that's great. And yeah, I should say I do love this interview already. I just love the conversation we're having, simply because it is the word abstract, just slightly off the normal sort of interviews that I've been doing for Everyman Radio, where generally I would have a very specific person doing a specific thing, talking about the specific thing they do, which is great. It's really great, but it's very, very simple, very simple. And just for our listeners' benefit, I recently got into contact with Anam through Facebook groups, because what piqued my curiosity, and because I was very interested, was in the, let's say, work or Anam's interest in Carlos Castaneda, if I'm correct on that. So seeing lots of links, but the links that he was posting are not about Carlos Castaneda, I believe, more about the philosophy of Carlos Castaneda, if I'm right.
Yeah, it's the lineage or the school of living that he brought forth through his books, the training that he himself received, and many others have received throughout the world so far. And it's a very specific kind of training. It's you could loosely call it Toltec shamanism,
Okay.
for it's that's not what it's. There's no real word for it, really. As I said before, it's defined by the actions, by the quality of life that one's actions produce. And so there's no need to name it as such. It doesn't really have a name, but in order to label it something so we know what we're talking about, I tend to call it Toltec shamanism.
Okay, I just laugh then. I suppose it was unexpected, really. The Toltec shamanism.
Yeah, same thing. Shamanic shaman.
What that conjures up, I really don't know. I suppose my own a spiritual interest, I suppose, and where I first came across Carlos Castenada's books was more within Gurdjieffian. So Gurdjieff.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with Gurdjieff, listener.
Yeah. I hope they are.
Oh, I hope you are too. But again, Gurdjieff is not a common figure. I found all of the work about Gurdjieff and what he did really quite fascinating, and a lot of the work that he did was very, very useful for everyday living, and basic conceptually, I could be wrong, but living to be the best person you can be, but to the extent possibly of reaching a warrior type status. And I say that possibly because I just know, looking around the world, well, not even that far, looking down the street, most people, I think, actually find it very hard to be a human being.
That's for sure, absolutely.
Yeah. And, well, I know that's interesting. Just saying that with yourself, I know I can say that. And because you understand that.
Yeah.
But I think generally, people don't understand that it's actually hard to be a human being. And I think many people don't really appreciate or understand, or possibly are horrified by, in a way, what we're talking about. That, I suppose I would believe that you have to actually work exceptionally hard just to function as a human being. I don't know, or maybe.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting thing you raised here. Maybe the crux of, all humans ask themselves, who am I? What is my place in this life? Those kind of things. But this is basically what people are asking. What I've observed is people are just wanting to find relief. That may be through religion, through binge eating, through chocolates, through relationships, through lots of sex, through, or Netflix or whatever it is. A bigger umbrella of relief, and then little reliefs throughout the day. It's all just trying to get relief, right?
Okay.
And what are they wanting to find relief from is what you just touched on, is because we are given a blank slate when we are born, and we are then stuffed full of absolute garbage. Because not I don't think it's intentional. I think the educational garbage is very intentional and very strategic, but that's a very big, that people like David Icke are far more of an expert on that than me, although I would say I'm not exactly uninformed either. So that's a big topic in itself, and a lot of people are starting to understand that they were forced to waste 10 to 12 or even up to college years, PhD, all that education was just absolute garbage nonsense. It did not help them to become better human beings at all, or have or what you were saying is find it even a little bit easier to live with themselves, right? And so for me, this is where we spend so much time being force-fed relentlessly a particular worldview that we weren't born with. And that worldview, that template that is given to us, produces, it's a severely dysfunctional template, okay? Because we don't really understand the extent of absorption that we have as kids. We really don't. We forget a lot of it. We forget that every time we watched an ad when I was 2 years old, every time I was listening to the radio, there, there, there's subliminal stuff going on all the time, you know. People say subliminal advertising is unlawful, at least in the UK. I don't know about the US. But that is just overt subliminal, overtly harmful subliminals that are banned. But advertising in itself must and is a subliminal art. It's getting your subconscious to act according to the will of the marketer. That's what advertising is all about. So when we are exposed to advertising of every kind, pretty much from birth, and all the way throughout our life. So we are constantly hammered with this, what the Toltecs would call a consensus reality, that we police ourselves. No one has to police it for us. We police it ourselves. Anyone who dares to think differently, anyone who dares to disagree with the government's point of view must, be either a conspiracy theorist or a this or a that or the rest of it. So we are brainwashed to police ourselves, to remain in that worldview. And it requires a humongous amount of what I would call ignition power, like a rocket. The most fuel that a rocket spends is in taking off. That's when most of the fuel is happening, expenditure. And then, and most of it is, and then there's a steady expenditure of it to escape the Earth's gravity. And then the fuel tanks fall off and another fuel system can take its place. So it's the same thing. Initially, if we start realizing that it is unbearable to live as a human, there comes a point in everyone's life when there's a crossroads. You either compromise and remain within the matrix, or you become the madman. You may not be a madman to everyone else, but inside you decide to break away. You decide to digress from the common narrative. And we start then going into, start looking at YouTube videos and conspiracy theories and reading all sorts of books that no one else is interested in, and all sorts of different things starts happening to us, right? But that is very good, because it's telling you that you are not interested in the common narrative anymore. There must be something else out there apart from the matrix that I can use to define myself, right? And so we all go on quests. We go and, we start sitting in the laps of gurus and go to India and feel very spiritual and, buy a harmonium and pump some Indian songs and bhajans and all that and feel really amazing. Or we go off to Peru and do ayahuasca and all this amazing stuff, and we feel so amazing and so spiritual, and everything is now falling into place for me. But none of that actually changes us. None of that evolves us. It requires an extraordinary expenditure of focused energy and investment in myself in order to get that rocket to lift off. Before that, it's just, it's not really lifting off. It's just expending lots of energy, doing nothing. You see, that also is a stage. And so there's a lot of, it's a very involved point that you brought up. And we could really talk on that one point for hours and hours because it's the human condition. And I say, for me and the people I take on as, apprentices, the idea is the Toltec system affords us a very specific, strategic, and scientific way to create enough energy for liftoff, sustain enough energy for liftoff, which means stamina, spiritual stamina, or stamina in what we call impeccable living. And then to be able to navigate the treacherous waters of the unknown, of space, when we have escaped the Earth's gravity and we have entered space itself. It is a vast unknown territory. It's not our natural home. It is not our organic place, the Earth, right? Mm-hmm. So to have enough knowledge, know-how, sobriety, pragmatism, and enough training, be enough together inside us so that we can then safely navigate the rigors of freedom, inner freedom, outer freedom. And so life does not necessarily have to be difficult. Being human does not necessarily, it's not a default setting that I'm human, so it's very difficult. It's a setting given to us due to the unfortunate circumstances we are born in, and the matrix that is designed to keep us in the unfortunate category. Toltecs, we don't believe in anything really. Belief doesn't come into it. It's actions. We take action. We recognize that we don't have to remain in the unfortunate club, and we can take action to catapult ourselves, propel ourselves away from being the perpetual victim of being human, victim of life, to a certain level of mastery, a certain level of comfortability within our own skin, a certain level of juice in living. Long answer, but there you go.
Yeah. Wow. No, it's fascinating. So you say you take on apprentices, or
yeah.
And so how does that work exactly? Is it a kind of school that you have, or you?
No.
It's just
It's a very individualistic proposition for anyone who is out there teaching, or being a beneficiary to others who would like to learn the Toltec system and its very intricate but very simple system. For me, I know that I don't really know much of the Toltec arena, to be honest, because there's a lot of bogus bullshit out there that I don't waste my time with, and there's a lot of. It's very easy to believe that we are better than we really are. It really is very easy to believe that. We behave as if we are better than we really are. It's very hard to be just honest with yourself.
Yeah, I do know what you mean there. Because even just, I don't know why I have a flashback to this, but I think this was a couple of years ago, and I suppose I was changing, growing up, even though I'm 45. But I just became very, very pleased that I managed to sew on a button.
Right.
Yeah. Just,
yeah.
Just a kind of very simple task that I think many of us would just take for granted. But I just remember a couple of years ago just being very, very pleased that I was actually able to do this thing. Sew on a button.
Yeah. I mean, it's the victory that matters, not the act itself. You see, what you described, to me, the act is insignificant. You could have been Napoleon and won the world over, but it's the sense of victory that is significant. The act isn't. Okay. And so for me, it's just as significant when you say that than someone, coming along say, I won 3 Grammys today. It's meaningless in that sense. But it's the sense of victory. Someone else could say, I won 3 Grammys and I still feel miserable. Okay. You see? So to me, the juice is when you say, oh, I felt really pleased with myself. And I'm like, yes, That's it. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I suppose now, yeah, the things I get pleased with are things like this now, what we're doing now. So
Yeah.
I suppose there are lots of people who podcast and work in radio and what have you. But I think if you're just a passive listener to this nonsense we're spouting out, because I've worked very hard in setting up what I have done and doing now for this part, and I think people just don't realize how many different facets are involved in broadcasting a podcast. So I get very, very pleased with being able to record this interview and to actually then publish it so that other people can enjoy what we said. And I get a big kicks out of that. Great sense of achievement from, and I know it's all very small now. Yeah, I have great ambitions.
Yeah.
Like, they've become fantastical in nature, really. Things. Yeah, when I'm sort of joking to myself, like, did you see this on the BBC? And I think, well, it's nothing. I'm going to take them over.
Why not? Why not? Someone else who you're watching thought the same thing, and that's why you're watching them. So why can't you be the one there and others watching you? You see, it's that sense of possibility that we must plug into. We cannot let that go. There's far too many people live desperate lives, silent desperation. Pink Floyd, one of my all-time favorite bands.
Me too.
I somehow thought you would agree. They have one of their greatest albums, Dark Side of the Moon, has lyrics in there about it. I think the song is Time. I think it's Time. What is it? Carrying on in silent desperation is the English way. Something. I forget the lyrics. I can hear them.
Yeah.
And they recognized it even then. There's far too many of us are silently desperate, and we don't know the way out. We don't know where to go. Religion didn't cut it for me. My parents didn't cut it for me. The guru fell away. The books I read are no good because they never made me any happier than I am now. I'm still miserable and bored and don't really know what life is all about. And all the attendant thoughts of disempowerment that come along with that. And what you just described with your broadcasting is, to me, is someone who is describing in the Toltec system. It's called the path with heart.
Okay.
A path with heart. So you are treading a path with heart. And a path with heart can be as simple as learning to sew on a button, feeling really great about it, or becoming the biggest broadcaster that ever lived. See, again, it's the actions, it's what they gave you in terms of life experience, quality of life that matters in the end, not how big or how small the action was. And in the Toltec system, the path with heart, following and living out a path with heart, is one of the most important things that we learn at an early stage, because without actually doing or putting oneself in a strategic position of being able to do what we love to do, and that can change, it doesn't matter, but just doing that for that amount of time, whatever it may have been, is a great gift we give to ourselves, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And yeah, sorry, can you just say that last bit again? Just
The amount, the act, you know, following a path with heart, whatever makes us feel great doing it, like it fulfills something inside of you. When you record these programs, when you put them out for everyone to listen to, you get feedback, people saying, you know, that really helped me, or that guest that you got on was really helpful. I've been to their website, thanks for connecting us, you know. However, whatever, for my own channel on YouTube, it's the Nagwal Zone. Go and check it out. It's a Toltec, specifically for the Toltec teachings.
okay.
I get lots of comments there, people appreciating the work I do. And it's a part of the path with heart for me, because it's a gift I'm giving to myself as well as anyone else who may benefit from it. It's a great gift I'm giving. You know, but it's firstly to myself and for myself. It's to bring me that level of satisfaction. And of course, the more people engage, the bigger, the more views it gets, the more comments, the energy gets bigger, right? And there is something very fulfilling about that return of your hard work. There's very, you know, that's why we want more returns. We always want things to grow bigger. We want things to get better and more people to listen to this and more people to, because we're always looking for more and more fulfillment, in a sense. I was telling someone the other day, I really don't think we're looking for love, or we're looking for to be happy in life, or the Dalai Lama said we are looking for contentment and the soul needs, you know, this, that, and all. I think all of that is just scratching the surface. In my observation of myself, of others, of life, we are all looking for life experience according to our particular unique template, whatever that may be. So that's why people end up in all sorts of bizarre and difficult situations, and they won't even lift a finger to come out of it. And all sorts of psychologists will come along, give theories about codependency and fancy words and being bandied about, as if anyone actually knows what's going on. No one actually knows what's really going on about a single thing in life, not a single thing. But words give us the impression that we know something, right? But all that's happening is those 2 souls or 3 souls or 5 souls, or or if you're a Scientologist in a cult like that, they're looking for life experience, and they're there for that experience that it's giving them along their journey of existence. And those experiences can be quote unquote negative or destructive, and quote unquote positive or beneficial. I don't think to the spirit it really matters, because the spirit has decided that this experience is what I'm after, you know. And so, look, you know, I think I would love to have anyone go deeper. I think that is the real baseline of human existence, is we're all looking for richer life experience, you know, a real richness. I'm going to start with I don't know, you know, I'm always attracting the wrong kind of guys, you know, and they start with verbal abuse, then it gets into physical abuse, but I'm not going to do anything about it until my spirit is totally complete with that experience. That's when I'm going to go to social services, go to the police, complain, get court cases and sort myself out and move on to the next experience. But I think it's a folly to see these things as negative and positive, and that was bad and this is good, and I wasn't spiritual then and I'm spiritual now. I think that's all very, very inaccurate.
Yeah, I suppose what you just said there just made me think of the almost trap that I think lots of people fall into, in a way. I'm not going to do this now that's good for me. I'm going to wait until this thing happens. Like I can't actually do the thing I want to do until I get my degree, or until after this holiday. Then I can do that thing. Yeah. I don't know.
Until the new year.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
The big one.
Yeah, we've got a bit of a wait for that one now. But we've got Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah.
Rome.
I won't ask her out till Valentine's Day. It'll be the perfect day then.
Yeah. And then, no, I'm just digressing totally. The highlights of things coming up this year. We've got Easter coming up. I'm not a big fan of Easter, but like many of these kind of holidays that we kind of fit in for something or other. But and now I'm just ranting really. Yeah, just going back though, all the way to Carlos Castaneda, because there's a couple of his books that I wrote, and I think that you did mention something that is in the information isn't sort of honestly sort of followed or looked into, or I think there were questions about actually who was Carlos Castaneda. Was he actually a real individual that he put his name to, or was he writing a story from somebody else's experience or something? I don't know.
There's a lot of controversy about that, and again, it's all too easy to get stuck in the romantic side of an issue, something that appeals to our sense of romance and storytelling, and then we get stuck in debates and arguments about this, that, and opinions, and as I said, and none of that tends to produce any action. First of all, any productive, proactive action, none of that tends to produce any of that. So personally, I and any authentic Toltec will stay away from these things anyway, because it's a waste of precious energy. Secondly, whether someone was real or not is totally irrelevant. Most people who really wonder about this, most people who spend energy in that particular thing, would benefit from actually putting their energy into verifying for themselves what the teachings are and whether they work for them. I'd rather talk to someone who says, yeah, I don't really care whether Don Juan existed or not, or Carlos Castaneda wrote something out of his own mind, or was it a real phenomena? What I have done is, for the last 20 years, I've applied these teachings in a way, scientifically, in a way to verify them, whether they actually do what they claim to do, and whether it's just nonsense. You don't even need 20 years, you need 20 months. In fact, I'd say you don't even need 20 months, you need 2 months. I would even say you don't even need 2 months, you need 2 weeks. But am I actually going to take any productive, proactive action to verify, or am I happy with just debating or a cup of coffee and self-aggrandizing and feeling great because I know so much about this topic? Unfortunately, most of the world is filled with spineless intellectuals who, think a lot but do nothing. And unfortunate as it is, to me, it's a waste of human potential. We are capable of so much more than just jerking off in our minds about stuff that really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's and so, would you? What are there books you'd recommend people read or start off if there's some of the things you said have resonated with them? Or
absolutely. First of all, I would say, if you haven't read Castaneda's books, absolutely start with those. The Teachings of Don Juan is the first one. Then I think he came up with, I forget the chronology, but it's all there on Google. Tales of Power, Journey to Ixtlan. The first three, definitely. Read them through. First, and then if it keeps your interest in this, the second advice I would give is stay away from the romanticism of it all. It's not about the long walks in the desert with this mystic shaman. It's not about the psychedelics, and it's not about any of that. It's go to the core messages and verify if they work for you in your life. And that, my friend, takes action and a willingness to be the laboratory of your own life, not just mentally having a great time and thinking I'm a big shot now that I've read these books and I understand all the concepts. Yeah, well, you read books about the marathon, but have you actually run a marathon yet in your life? It's that kind of thing. Then there are other books that I always recommend anyone. I get a lot of comments on the YouTube channel saying, where should I start? A lot of people, actually, surprisingly, I get a lot of Facebook PMs and people contacting me through email. And a lot of them are people who have studied the books, gone to many seminars, done all the Toltec this and the Toltec that, and they still feel that they just don't have a good grasp of what this is all about. They fall in love with the way of it, but they just don't have that level of applied understanding. They just couldn't make it work for them. They would love to make it. So they come and say, what would you recommend? Where do I start? And I said, they say, I've done this for 20 years. I've done it for 40 years. And I've done this and I've done. And I just say, look, it really doesn't matter how long you've done it for, because someone, who's ready would be able to apply it in 2 months or 2 weeks, 2 hours. It doesn't really matter. So go right back to the basics. And my standard advice is get a copy of Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now.
Okay.
It's a book called The Power of Now by a guy called Eckhart Tolle, Tolle. Read that through cover to cover 5 times. Cover to cover 5 times. Go back, cover to cover 5 times. Do that. So do this 5 times. And then take the next 2 years. So if it's 2020 now, I would say them till 2022, learn to apply every single thing in that book.
Okay.
Then I will say, to keep you away from the boredom of it, you ideally shouldn't be getting bored, but because that book gives you the perfect antidote to boredom. Buy another book called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise L. Hay. Louise Hay, she's passed over now.
Okay.
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Read that book through 3 times cover to cover, and then take the same amount of time in learning to apply and verify for yourself that these are the things that work for you. So do that homework. I'd rather people do the homework. That's why, reading a book is easy. Reading a book 2 times is easy, but reading a book 5 times is when it really gets in there. So that's the 2 books I recommend to start with. One is a very young, not in the sense of what we understand young is, but it's very young in terms of quality of consciousness. And one is very yin in terms of quality of energy. So both these books and the wisdom contained in them balance each other perfectly, in my opinion.
Okay. And because I don't understand all of your terminology, I'm missing a yang.
Okay. The yin yang principle is you must have seen it in Tai Chi. It's the typical Tai Chi symbol.
Oh yeah.
With the dots and the things. I don't know how to describe it. But does that ring a bell? The Tai Chi symbol?
I think so. Yeah.
it represents the duality of the yin yang. So in the Chinese way of thinking, and which is derived from the ancient Indian, way of thinking, the Vedic way of thinking, is that all things have a masculine and a feminine principle inherent in them, and both are so inextricably linked that they are inseparable. However, both have specific qualities and attributes that they can be recognized by. So the masculine will have specific qualities and attributes that you can recognize the masculine quality of something. And the feminine will have same in the feminine way, so that we can recognize that is a more feminine. But a feminine does not mean there's no masculine in it, and a masculine does not mean there is no feminine in it. Right? They're both, they come as a package. They come as one deal. It's like the North Pole and a South Pole on a magnet. You can't separate those two. It's the same thing.
Okay, wow. Yeah, this has been a fantastic chat. I would say rich with information and things for people to think about and actually do. I think,
yeah.
I think even if that's just one thing, do something.
Do something. Get off your ass and do something. Really.
Oh yeah. So how can people keep in touch with you or follow what you're doing? What would you recommend? You may have said already. But...
Yeah, go to YouTube and type in the Nagual Zone, Nagual Zone, Zone, the Nagual Zone, or Z as the Americans say, the Nagual Zone, and I upload weekly videos there.
Oh, wow.
They are to do with the Toltec shamanistic way. They are very, very, as I said before, they're my gift to the world, and there's a lot in them. So if anyone is at all interested in knowing more about what we've talked about today, absolutely go there, watch those videos. They're not monetized just yet. It's a small channel. And yeah, give me those views.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe if you actually like and want to subscribe. I usually, water down that bit, because what's the point? People will like if they will like it. People subscribe if they want to stay connected. It's just very simple. So there's no use hammering it into people. We're not fools, are we? We know what we like. We know if we want to stay connected. So please do that, but definitely view at least watch the videos.
Yeah. At least do something, well, at least if something comes out of what we've talked about, it's do something.
Yeah, I would say action. If someone would say, what would you just in a sentence, what would you like to say? I would say, define your life through the quality of your actions, not the quality of your jerk-off thinking mind, because your mind is going to lead you astray, but your actions will create evidence that you can look at and see, irrefutable evidence that you can't fool yourself, your actions or lack of it, whatever it may be.
It's true. To speak louder than words.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
No, it's fantastic. And let's wrap it up. But I'm just going to ask you a very silly question now, just for one reason, and that is to reintroduce Mr. Techno Gadget Boar, who we'll be talking afterwards. He's been very busy. He has been doing something. But I'm quite happy to give him some more work. But is there any technology problems you have, or tech that needs fixing, or you can think of?
Yeah, are you asking me?
Yeah.
Not really. I'm pretty good with gadgets. My gadgets, because I treat them as friends, I don't treat them as objects to be used and discarded. I have been trained in that way, to see everything around me as friendly to me, as supportive, as energy that works for me. My gadgets literally just, I have a great relationship with technology, so I couldn't say that I do.
Okay, no, that's cool. I'm just staring at a printer over there that's always giving me trouble. And I'm quite happy to, change the way I think about that printer. Maybe I should be kind.
Yeah, start with absolutely. And then if there's something wrong, just go get it fixed.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But a good relationship with our surroundings, with especially the things we use. We use our toothbrush every day. But, what is the quality of my relationship with my toothbrush? What is the quality of my relationship with my dishes that I wash and use every day? With this computer that I'm using, with my phone. I see people slamming their phones, cursing it, because it's like expecting things to be a slave to you. And to me, that is not right.
Okay. No, that's interesting.
Only slaves think that way, you see.
Okay. It's getting a bit deep for me now. I'm just gonna attack my printer anyway. That'll make me feel better.
You get printer nightmares.
I already
Printer
do.
guilt. You get printer PTSD. You're waking up in the shakes. Oh my God, that printer's giving me nightmares.
No, that's great.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay. Lovely talking with you. And we'll have to catch up in a while.
Yeah.
And, that'd be great. Lovely.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day. And,
thank you. And you too, Richard. It was lovely to talk.
Yeah. Cheers.
Take care now.
Thank you. Yeah, goodbye.
Bye.
And now it's time for some hilarious comedy on Everyman Radio.
The Techno Gadget Bore Show, the tech podcast to help you upgrade your ZX Spectrum and Commodore 64.
Hello. Hello, and welcome to the Techno Gadget Bore Show with your host, Mr. Techno Gadget Bore. So, you can be compatible. Yes, I can be compatible. So, in today's show, I listened to the Everyman Radio podcast and found Anam had very interesting advice. I think he said, don't be a slave to your phone or your printer. You've got skills. Yes, I've got skills. This phone is made by Apple. And I do not want to be a slave to this phone. So, I will put this phone in a bag. Okay, now the phone is in a bag, and I have a hammer. I'm not doing anything. So this is me not being a slave to my phone. And Yes, so I am not a slave to my phone because I hit it with a hammer. For great more tips from Techno Gadget Boar, please tune in to the Techno Gadget Boar show. Thank you.
The Techno Gadget Boar Show.
The best new music from around the world.
I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. Oh, I'll never let you go. Give me your hands and I will hold on tight through whatever comes and goes. I said it to you then, I'll say it to you now that I have you here in my arms. I said it to you then, I'll say it to you now that I want you through every storm. I'm gonna love you for the rest of my life. Oh, I'll never let you go. Give me your hands and I will hold on tight through whatever comes and goes. Love comes easy. Our love comes easy, easy.
Thank you for listening to Everyman Radio. If you enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends on social media.
Goodbye.